Are you actually losing money every time you plug into a DC fast charger? Even when the screen says you bought, say, 40 kilowatt hours? Let's pull the curtain back on the numbers nobody showed you. The real question behind expensive DC fast charging. Most people feel DC fast charging is a ripoff for one simple reason. The bill is obvious and the losses are invisible. You see the price per kilowatt hour or per minute right in your face. But you never see how much of the energy turns into a real range and how much turns into hot cables, hot coolant, and warm air. In this video, I want to do something different. Instead of just saying DC is more expensive, I'm going to show you where the money actually leaks out. In the charger hardware, in your car's power electronics, in the battery itself, and in your habits. And by the end, you'll know when DC fast charging is totally fine and when you really are lighting your money on fire. Imagine you tap your card at 150 kilowatt charger and buy 40 kilowatt hours. You're thinking, okay, that's roughly this much money, and that should give me about this much range. Simple. But from the grid socket to your battery cells, energy passes through a whole chain of things that each steal a little spice. First, the charger's own electronics. They convert AC from the grid to DC for your car and regulate the power. Even a good unit might be around 95 to 97% efficient at its sweet spot, but that drops when the power is low or temperature is high. Then your car's side. The power runs through contactors, bus bars, wiring, and cooling systems. The higher the current, the more heat you get. That heat is literally money you're not storing in the pack. Finally, the battery. As current flows through internal resistance, it generates heat inside the cells. The BMS sees temperature climbing and starts to pull the brakes so things don't cook. That means that at high state of charge or in cold weather, more of your paid energy turns into heat and less into usable capacity. On paper, DC fast charging can still be around 90 to 95% efficient overall. But here's the catch. That's an ideal condition. Most of us don't live in ideal conditions. The hidden problem. Here's the part that stings. You don't pay for the kilowatt hours that end up inside the battery. You pay what the charger says it's delivered to the car inlet. If your battery is cold, the BMS limits power. The session drags on and fans spin, pumps run, and you're paying for a bunch of overhead just to warm the pack. If your battery is already at 70 to 80%, the charger spends more time at lower power, where both the charger and the pack are less efficient. So two people can stand at the same charger, pay the same rate, and walk away with different cost per kilometer. The one who arrived with a warm pack at the lowest state of charge gets much more actual range per dollar than the one who plugged in at cold at 65% just to top up. On road trips, this becomes a big deal. You might think I'll just stay on DC all day. It's faster. But if you keep charging from 50 to 100%, you're paying the highest price for the lowest quality energy. Slow, hot, and inefficient. Let me give you a simple story here. Driver A rolls into a charger at 10% with a warm battery after an hour on the highway. The car ramps up close to peak power, holds it for a while, and then starts tapering. They unplug around 60%. Driver B here. Driver B shows up at 55% after a short drive from home in winter. The battery is cold, the BMS is cautious, and the charger can't hit high power. It crawls up, then tapers early because the pack is already medium full. Driver B stays until 95% because they want a full battery. Both pay for roughly the same delivered energy, but driver A gets more kilometers per kilowatt hour, more kilometers per minute, and less heat. Driver B gets less real range, more time at the charger, and more stress on the pack. Same charger, same price, totally different value. From the outside, people will say DC fast charging is inefficient, or DC kills your battery pack. It's not that simple. The hardware has a certain baseline efficiency, yes, but your habits can easily make things look way worse than they need to be. Here's the good news. DC fast charging isn't your enemy if you use it in the way that it's meant to be used. It actually shines when you keep your charge window somewhere like 10 to 60% or 10 to 70% on trips. Let the pack warm up either by driving or using preconditioning before hitting the fast charger. Hop off the charger once the power starts to fall off a cliff, instead of babysitting it all the way to 100%. In that window, most modern EVs can grab a lot of usable energy quickly, at decent efficiency, without heating up the cells. You're paying more per kilowatt hour than at home, but at least what you pay mostly shows up as real range instead of hot air. Where it really starts to feel like you're losing money is when you use DC to do jobs that AC could handle. Slow topping up around town, daily charging near home, or pushing from 80 to 100% just because it feels better to see there. That's the stuff that quietly drains your wallet and ages the pack faster than it needs to. There's a myth that if the charger is, say, 95% efficient, that's the full story. If only it were that simple. From an engineer's point of view, you actually care about three layers. How many kilowatt hours the charger delivered to the car inlet? How many of those make it through the car's hardware into the pack? And how many of those stay usable as charge instead of getting eaten as heat from high current, high state of charge, or bad temperature? Your valid efficiency is all three stacked together. The final number changes a lot with behavior. That's why some people leave a session thinking, that wasn't so bad. And others swear off DC forever because they paid a lot and get very little. Same technology, different habits, different outcomes. If you want one simple rule to stop wasting money on DC fast charging, here it is. Use DC to move you from low to the medium state of charge with a warm battery and use AC for everything else. Low to medium state of charge is where the charger runs closer to its sweet spot. The pack is more efficient and the BMS is happiest. AC at home or at work quietly fills in the gaps at the top without time pressure, usually at lower price with fewer losses. You don't have to be perfect. Even just avoiding DC from 80 to 100% and skipping DC on a stone cold pack will already make your trips cheaper and easier. There's one more layer to this that most people forget. Every time you slam high power into a cold or almost full pack, the BMS is fighting to keep you safe. It clamps current, heats coolant, spins fans, and in extreme cases logs events that age your pack model. Over years, that kind of abuse shows up as faster state of health drop, more range loss, and earlier power limits. So the same habits that waste money at the charger also quietly tax your batteries in the long term. If you instead hit the charger in the green zone and let the BMS do its job with some briefing room, you're not only saving cash, you're stretching the pack's life. That's how taxi fleets and rideshare drivers squeeze hundreds of thousands of kilometers out of their EVs. Even when they use fast charging a lot, they manage timing, temperature, and state of charge window. So are you losing money on DC fast charging? You might be, but not because DC fast charging is evil. You lose money when you fast charge at the wrong time, at the wrong state of charge, and with the wrong expectations. Get those three under control, and DC becomes a powerful tool instead of a silent tax. If you want to really understand how the BMS decides charging limits, how to design those limits yourself, hit the BMS course link in the description. Thank you.